another live stream. Now, regularly we are looking underneath my microscope and we are drawing and doing all types of scientific illustrations and things. And if you are here joining us specifically to do that tonight, you might have to watch a recording of a previous week, because this week, instead of drawing, I really, really desperately need to manage my collection a little bit. And so, because I haven't been able to do it really on my own time, I decided to bring you along with me. So what we're going to be doing today together is going through some of my insect specimens that, for instance, I've pinned up, but I haven't taken off of the mounting boards yet. We're going to be going through specimens that at some point I pulled out of my collection and I haven't put them back into the collection yet. And I know that that's not particularly great for specimens, because you can attract dermestid beetles, or beetles that will actually eat your specimens. So for that reason and many others, like they're just not as well protected when they're not in trays, we're going to be going through my collection today and looking at cool specimens and talking about where I've collected what. And I might have to stop to make up a couple of labels as we move along, but today we are going to be talking all about collections and collection management, and we're going to be looking at some of my specimens that have kind of spread out all over my desk, because I guess as an entomologist, one of those things that happens is you end up with a really, really unique sort of chaos with bugs all over the place. We love them. Okay. Let's see. Where do I want to start? All right. Let's start in the beetle drawer. So, I actually think that I can also pick up this. I can also pick up this camera and kind of move it around a little bit if we want. I just have to be really careful with the cord at the moment. Careful with the cord. Okay. So this is what is of the beetle drawer right now before I kind of organize it. We've got, these are jewel scarabs up here. There were some deer flies among over there. These are all different scarabs. We've got ground beetles that are kind of warrior beetles on the top, and then tiger beetles on the bottom, and actually more tiger beetles with some assorted other beetles that have unsorted themselves. And then I've got a number of longhorn trays. We're gonna have to fix that one over there, but we're going to be resorting some of these. But longhorn beetles, we absolutely love them. And there are so many awesome, really large longhorn beetles. These are all of the click beetles up there on the top. And then on the bottom, we've got lycids, the net-winged beetles, fireflies, and soldier beetles. I believe they're all in a superfamily called Elateriformia. Alright. That is kind of a unique unit tray that is not organized just yet, but that is what we are here doing. Because for some unknown reason, we ended up with a grasshopper. We ended up with a grasshopper hanging out with the blister beetles. How funny is that? So we've got the blister beetles along the top, then we've got some phangodids here, the ones with the really, really cool antenna. And this beetle actually belongs in this tree up here with the aquatic beetles. And we've got a weevil here that also belongs with its weevil friends. Alright, we'll be fixing more of that shortly. But it looks like at this point we at least have the drawer complete. So we have all of the unit trays in here. And what I'm going to attempt to do is kind of move through all of our specimens here and pull out the beetles so that we can get them into the tray. So this guy right here is a stag beetle in the family Lucanidae. And all Lucanids, if you actually count their antenna, they have 10 segmented antenna. This is a really cool beetle here, and it is a species of longhorn borer that is, it's a root borer. So this one is actually female. I found her in a forest in southern Indiana, and her abdomen was completely punctured into the substrate, and she was in the process of laying eggs. I kind of watched her and I videotaped her, and I waited for her to be done laying eggs, and then I collected her. Um, Green! Yes, of course, those Chrysina, those beautiful, glorious jewel scarabs are absolutely metallic green. Um, let's see. Have you got that one blister beetle with the huge abdomen and the two small elytra? I have collected that one in the past, but right now in my collection, that specimen does not exist. So, no, I do not have one of those. And that is admittedly one of those specimens that is on my list for when somebody sends me a picture and says, "Hey, Trisha, what is this thing that I have found?" And then I will tell them what it is and ask them to collect it for me. I have a number of specimens in my collection that other people have collected for me after showing it to me. Um, All right. So what I just did is I made up a label in my computer for these two specimens here. This is a deer fly that bit me, and I was really mad about it. So we collected it and we pinned it. And then this is that's that root borer there. And I collected them both in the same forest. I was actually hip camping. Um, I don't know if any of you kind of like are aware of hip camping, of what hip camping is, or like have ever used the app, but it's essentially like Airbnb, but but for like campgrounds and camp spaces. Um, so there was this campground that I went to on someone's property, and they had built a little cabin in the woods, and so I got to stay there and collect bugs. And it was a great, great night. I set up an awesome black light. I'm hoping for this camera to refocus lower. Maybe reset the light. There we go. All right. So let's pull this root borer out. We've got all of these pins around its body because when this specimen was dry, or when this specimen was wet, it was very flexible, right? So each one of these pins was holding a tarsal segment or making sure that the antenna wasn't wiggling around too much. And one of those things that I have to be cautious with is not only where I'm grabbing to pull these pins and the angle at which those pins are coming out, but the specimens around it. Now we've got all of the pins out from around. We still have that central pin here, the one that is going through its body. And when we're lifting a specimen that's been pinned and kind of dried onto the styrofoam up and away, we actually want to wiggle it a little bit because sometimes those little tarsal claws will end up getting stuck in the styrofoam, and we really don't want that to happen. So that right there is our cute little root borer. And the way that I generally do labels or do labeling is I find myself a micron marker, so just in case the label gets wet, the ink won't spread. And I've already written up the label, and the label number in my computer is number 70. So I'm going to write a little piece of paper that has the number 70 on it, and then I'm going to cut it up, and I'm going to put it underneath these specimens here. I may have walked away with my scissors at some point recently. I'm gonna rip it for right now, but these labels will be replaced shortly. Once I end up printing these labels, then I'll cut them and give them their real labels. Right now, we're just gonna add these temporary numbers so that the specimens can go into the collection rather than kind of wait on the sides for the right to be in the collection. It just gives them the ability to move quicker. So they're both number 70. Because that label is the locality label, not the identification label, right? So when we drop an ID label on something, then obviously those are going to be very different species. They're in completely different orders. All right, so that's our cute little root borer. And who else do we have up here? This is a milkweed longhorn beetle. I sometimes used to call them squeaky beetles. Their genus is really cool. It's Tetraopes tetrathalamus. And Tetraopes quite literally means four eyes. If you look up this, I'll type it out for you all if you are curious about it, because they're super duper cute. They're in the genus Tetraopes, and it means four eyes because where the antenna connect in the head, the antenna actually split the compound eyes in half. So they have this like little itty bitty compound eye and then an antenna, and then a little itty bitty compound eye underneath it. And I've always thought it was super cute. So that's a longhorn beetle. It's a milkweed longhorn. We've got some wasps, some flies. I have to make up this label here from a camping trip in Kentucky, and that is going to be label 71. Let me write this up really fast. Okay. So on this trip, I really need those pair of scissors if we're making that many labels. So. I don't know if this happens to you, but I feel like my scissors are 100% of the time walking away from me. I repel scissors. Okay. I'll just rip them. That's fine. So all of these insects in here, outside of this bombus, he already has a label, and this water scorpion already is labeled. These ones, this stink bug's labeled. These guys in here, these are all from Kentucky. And one of the cool things about these specimens is that this beetle right here, that's a bombardier beetle. That's the genus Brachinus. And that bombardier beetle, it burned me a little bit when I collected it. Like when I picked it up, it went. And as you probably know, blister beetles have a chemical reaction that happens in their abdomen that comes out explodes out of their abdomen at over boiling temperatures, which is insanity. And so when I originally collected it, it burned me just a little bit, but I was pretty quick and I knew what it was, and so it didn't really get me too much. And honestly, I've been burned on purpose too, once or twice, just to see, and I hadn't been burned very bad at all ever. So when I was pinning this specimen, and this is post-mortem, right? So this specimen has been passed for approximately, I would even say almost like 7 days. It was about a week after I collected it. I pinned the specimen, and the moment that I always hold the specimens to kind of brace them for when I put the pin through them, and the moment that I put the pin through the specimen, that chemical reaction took place inside of the abdomen, and I must have pushed down on the specimen in just the right spot. and in just the right way that it emptied those chemicals into my hand. And it burned me pretty good. That bombardier beetle right there burned me way better than I wanted it to. Funny enough. All right. My stream health says that it's back to excellent. So let's see how long it'll last before things go wonky. And I just saw I had a whole bunch of messages load while I was reloading my program. So Susan mentioned that she had a giant water bug appear dead on her car, and then Matthew came in and said that he saw a feral cat eating slash playing with a giant water bug. So I mean, okay, we can play that what if game. It's a fun one. Definitely for sure the possibility of a predator leaving it on your vehicle is a thing. I actually just had a cat jump off of my roof and onto the top of my vehicle. I was pretty startled when it came off of the roof. I didn't expect it to be up there. But the other thing is that giant water bugs and other aquatic insects, if your vehicle is like a black or a really dark color, like a dark gray or a dark blue, black vehicles and the like are going to reflect the light of the moon very similarly to a water body reflecting light, especially if the vehicle is clean. And so sometimes things like giant water bugs and other aquatic insects that are flying around at nighttime are going to try and dive down into a water body, and they'll knock themselves out on vehicles trying to dive into the water. What's the long skinny one? The long skinny one, this one right here, is called a water scorpion. And it has that nice long tail way down there at the end that it uses kind of like a snorkel. It's going to hang upside down in the water. It uses this to breathe, and then it uses raptorial front legs, or front legs like a praying mantis, to grab onto its food and eat its prey. Nom nom nom. Susan was curious if the beetle actually produced heat or if it was just a chemical burn. And yes, the chemical reaction does produce heat. It is an exothermic reaction. It's hydroquinone and hydrogen peroxide. Is the chemical reaction that takes place within a bombardier beetle. And I'm looking it up right now because I don't remember the exact temperature, but I do know that it is hot. Near 100 degrees Celsius. The chemical reaction of the bombardier beetle can reach almost 100 degrees Celsius. So yeah, it's hot. This is a fly. It's not a beetle, but we're still going to get the labels on these anyway. This wasp here was really cool, and I was really excited about it. And then when I pinned it, it lost a bunch of legs. So I don't know if it's actually going to be able to stay within the collection. We're going to have to see what happens. Alright, let me see. I'm going to grab this little cute little ground beetle right here with this really metallic elytra. Love that for him. Let's see. Oh no! You had a specimen that wasn't all the way past. That's sad. I hate that. I had that one time on accident with some carpenter bees because I had frozen them and I thought that they were past, but they were survived in a freezer freezer for 72 hours. And when they came out, I guess they were still alive. Oh, well, I thought it was a very narrow katydid with a long ovipositor. I have to sketch that one in the future. Oh, yeah. These are super duper cool. So my live stream quality fell again, so I apologize if I'm bouncing in and out. I'm gonna have to see about updating my computer. I think that's my problem at this moment. But yeah, that's our cute little water scorpion right there. It has this really stout beak that it pierces into its prey like a giant water bug, and it has venom, so it pierces its prey and it drinks them like a bug slurpee. I get it out of the way so that I don't hurt it while I am getting these guys. These beetles right here. I just needed a little bit of space to put my hand on the board so I can stabilize it. This here is a species of carabid, so it is a ground beetle of some kind. But I don't think that. So this one in particular is not a bombardier beetle. So this one isn't an explosive one, but I think that it was a bombardier beetle mimic because I found it in the same place, and when it was alive, it looked very similar to our bombardier beetle. You can almost see the expanded trochanters, but it's really tricky. I can see them, but I don't know if I could show them to you. They're right there. So at the base of the hind legs, you might be able to see that the hind legs look almost like they're expanded at the very base where they touch the body, but that's just because they have expanded trochanters. That's a characteristic of all ground beetles, whether it's a ground beetle like a bombardier beetle, or if it's a warrior beetle, or a beautiful tiger beetle. All right, this specimen right here is an ichneumon wasp, and one of the things that I tend to do with ichneumon wasps is I end up using a whole lot of pins, and that's because I've got an X of pins on either side of its body, and then I'll put a pin that sits on top of those, kind of like a little bar across the top of the body, because ichneumon wasps have both wings that are incredibly frustrating to deal with while you're pinning, and antennae that are very, very long. This species, the genus of this one here is Ophion. And this Ophion did not sting me this year. But I did have an Ophion this year that stung me. It did not end up in the collection because, well, it didn't, yeah, it didn't end up in the collection. But this Ophion here, yeah, they have long antennae and they have wonky wings. They have wings that are difficult to control while you're pinning them. So that's why I tend to use so many pins and to use those crosses on either side to hold those antennae down. Because what you want is you want to create a space that is safe to grab, right? And if your antennae are right there in the middle of the way, you can end up hurting the antenna when you go to grab the pin. So there is our cute little ichneumon wasp. Got really long front legs. A lot of times Ophion have shorter legs than that. And I really like the coloration on the wings. That makes this individual unique. Alright. So now, at least everything on this tray has a label with it. And so what I'm wanting to do is I am going to go ahead and I'm going to go ahead and get these sorted to order so that when we're moving past the beetles and into other orders, we'll be able to just come back in and grab everybody we need. So let's see. We're going to do Hymenoptera, right? So Hymenoptera, these are, oh, I think there's a good number of Hymenopterans on this tray here. Hymenoptera are the bees, the wasps, and the ants. So we've got this really beautiful cricket hunter that's metallic. I think its genus is Calabian. We've got the Ichneumon wasp. We've got this guy here. We've got Bombus, the bumblebee, another Ophion, another Ichneumon wasp down here. Let's see. All right. And then this is a cuckoo wasp in the family Chrysididae. Cuckoo wasps are really, really cool. They are both very beautiful metallic, and they're a kleptoparasite. So they lay their eggs in other bees and wasps, generally ground bee and wasp nests. And then their babies not only eat the eggs and the larvae of their hosts, but once their larvae get large enough, the colony that they're parasitizing, the workers will start feeding them and caring for them like they are their own. So that's why we call them cuckoo wasps, because they're similar to the cuckoo bird that does the same thing. It's a kleptoparasite, meaning that it actually lays its eggs in other bird nests, and other birds take care of their babies. Yeah, cool story. So what we got here, we've got a stink bug. A stink bug and the water scorpion are actually in the same order. They're both true bugs. And then we've got stoneflies are in their own minor order. Caddisflies are in their own minor order. We're gonna put those together. Damselflies, and then we've got one fly, two flies. Don't need these. And then a little calligraphy leaf beetle. So this beetle can go into the collection. Fabulous. So we don't have any more beetles on this sheet here, so I'm just going to put it off to the side. And I'm just going to start kind of building onto it. So we've got, well, maybe I'll leave it here and I'll build onto it. So we've got this guy here. That is a really, really beautiful, that's a fiery searcher. Calisoma scrutator. There are two really common species of Calisoma that I've collected in the past. Those are Calisoma scrutator, that one that you saw here, and then the other one is Calisoma sycophanta. And admittedly, right at this very moment, I only have one of Elytra. But they are a really beautiful metallic beetle. And they were released to Nam the gypsy moth caterpillar. The spongy moth caterpillar. So this is a true bug, and this is a true bug. So we've got two stink bugs over here, two stink bugs over there, and an assassin bug. Wow. Ha ha ha. Alright, remove this. Look at that Luna moth. The Luna moth is very much excited to get back into its tray. It had a little damage on the wingtip. It broke a little bit here, so I had to make it a little table, and I did glue the Luna moth wing back together. So now that it's all set, what I'll do instead of picking these pins up and away, because that can hurt the wing that's sitting Luna moth's wing. Make sure I didn't accidentally glue it up there. Very good. And now I know that I can just take the Luna moth up and off of that table. And I will in a moment. What I'm going to do over here is pull all of the beetles that already have labels all situated. So we've got a couple of butterflies. I'm going to admit these two butterflies over here, not pinned as well as most of my other butterflies in my specimens, but most of my butterflies in my collection. But this one here was pinned in 2010. So it was pinned 15 years ago. 15 years ago. And this one was also collected in 2010. So we're talking those are some fairly old insect specimens. They might be some of the oldest in my collection because my first insect collection that I made when I was very, very young got eaten by dermestid beetles. Because I didn't know what dermestid beetles were, and I wasn't warned that that my collection could just be eaten by bugs. All right, so I am working on these here. We've got longhorn beetles. This is a really, really cute little stag beetle here. It's got nice long mandibles, but it's generally a smaller. It's a smaller species there. This is a cute little Eleodes beetle. It's one of our desert stink beetles, and it produces a smell that's really, really icky, which is why some people call them stink beetles. Got flies, rose beetles. Oh, this is a burying beetle, and here's something kind of funny about these guys here. Burying beetles and rose beetles seem to be very different. They have very different behaviors, very different life cycles. The burying beetle has some crazy stuff that it does during its life cycle, but um, genetically they did the genetics of these families and determined that burying beetles are just another kind of rose beetle. So they're both now in the same family, and burying beetles are just their own subfamily, which is interesting. So that was new. That happened in the last 2 or 3 years. Um, so while I'm sorting these beetles, let's talk about the burying beetle's life cycle, because what they do is they'll find a dead animal. All right, so they're gonna go out and they're gonna find some kind of um, they're gonna find a dead animal. So that might be a small mouse, that might be a rabbit, that might be a squirrel, but generally it's not gonna be anything as big as like a possum or a raccoon. Those are too large, right? They're thinking about kind of a small rodent-y type of mammal, type of critter. And what they're gonna do is they're gonna dig underneath that animal over and over and over again until that animal is buried into the ground, which is why they call them burying beetles. And then the adults, I forgot to tell you about how they choose who they're mating with. Because a bunch of males will show up to the dead animal, and a bunch of females will show up to the dead animal. And interestingly enough, they don't fight one another like this. The males all fight all of the other males, and the females have their own little duel, and the females all fight each other. And the top male and the top female, they end up mating, and they get the rights to burying this dead animal together and laying eggs on it. And so then once you get these beetles that are kind of burying this dead animal together, what they're going to do is they're going to use their mouth parts to preemptively pluck all of the hair out of the hair off of the animal, and then they're going to kind of preemptively chew up a lot of the muscle tissue, so they create this like perfect little meatball for their babies. So they'll create this they'll create this little ball of ick underground for their young, and then instead of laying their eggs directly on the ball of ick, what they'll do is they'll lay their eggs in the surrounding soil, and then the babies will kind of like crawl to and find the ball, and they can feed themselves. They do have their own mouth parts that they will use to eat, but they also will get mouth fed by the parents. So the parents will like come and help them pre-chew some of their food and regurgitate food into their mouths too. So burying beetles, they are really, really interesting critters. Also, the adults seem to know how much, the adults seem to know how much food each individual nymph or larva needs. So what they'll do is if they, sorry, my brain just stopped. If the adults realize that there's not going to be enough food for all of the larvae that are there, they will kill some of their own babies. They're one of the very few insects that we see essentially like do infanticide. Infanticide meaning they'll kill their babies if there are so many babies that they're not all going to be able to survive. So for the betterment of the betterment of the rest of the larvae, they'll kill some of them. That's wild to me. It's just, all of the things that insects do that are unique to them. Those are all the really interesting ones. Ew, silver spotted skipper. Yes, that is a silver spotted skipper. It's just we haven't drawn it because it's so. I wish that it was spread better. And maybe a curl crescent. There are other crescents I can't distinguish. I'm not sure about that one. Admittedly, you would probably know the butterflies over here better than I would, Susan. There are burying beetles that have similar shades to picnic beetles. I have not heard of a picnic beetle, so I'm gonna look it up really quick. Oh yes, yeah, sap. I call picnic beetles sap beetles. But yeah, there are some that have very, very similar colorations. The big difference that you're gonna notice between a picnic beetle, which is like a sap beetle, versus a burying beetle, is going to be well, it's not going to be the length of the elytra because they both have elytras that are cut short. It's going to be the separation of the pronotum from the elytra. And so I actually can draw that better than I can describe it. Like I can describe it with my words, but I think that it might be easier just to draw. So I'm going to draw it on this piece of paper right here. Okay. So, picnic beetle is going to look. Oh, I wonder if I have one in my collection. Because, yeah, I have one similar to a picnic beetle in my collection. It's not the same species. But something like this, a picnic beetle is going to have a smooth connection between the pronotum and the elytra. So when I draw this, beetle here, it's going to be more like this, where you've got the head, you've got the pronotum, and then you have the elytra. And there's this right here is nice and smooth. Whereas when you have a burying beetle, When you have a burying beetle, they're more like this, where you've got the kind of a triangular head and then a very round pronotum, and then you're gonna have the elytra, and the elytra are kind of squared off a little bit. All right, I reset my stream hoping that it will come back healthy. It comes back healthy, and then it looks like within 5 to 10 minutes, my computer lags really heavily, and then I lose. Then I start to lag more. But we're gonna see how long it'll last this time. I do have all of these specimens right here that I need to make the label for. We are going to make this 72. And then this picnic area up here in Texas that I collected these really cute little bees that I'm excited about identifying and putting under a microscope. We're going to call those 73. Cool. All right. I'm hoping that, I don't know, it dropped a little bit. Okay, so let's see. Oh, and some pleasing fungus beetles have the same pattern too. I wonder if it's just because it worked for one of them and then they all just started. It could be some Batesian mimicry happening. Where one of them is poisonous and then everybody else is just mimicking. That's a possibility. I'm gonna shut down all of the windows that I don't need and see if that helps anything. Alrighty. So I'm gonna get all of these guys out of here. This stink bug right there, that's one of my absolute favorites. Not only because it is a cool shape, because it has a fun name, and I think we recently drew that one, which is why it's kind of sticking out a little bit. That is the elf shoe stink bug. And I mean, yes, we do call it an elf shoe, but it's just because they've got they appear to have what look like an elf shoe design on their back. And if you go back and you look at the live stream of us drawing the dwarf shoe stink bug, then you'll know. And you'll be able to decide for yourself whether or not you think that it looks like an elf shoe or not. Personally, I don't see an elf shoe in the shape of their pronotum, but I mean, some people did, and I guess enough people did that they gained that common name. You know, not only the person that named it, but also the colleagues that agreed. Let's see, how many labels do we need? 1, 2, 3. We've got some pointed beetles here too that I haven't identified yet. I was looking forward to identifying some smaller beetles. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So we're looking for 12 labels. Five, six, 7, 8, 9, 10, and I believe I cut 2 extra last time. There we are, 11, 12. Perfect. So now we've got all of our labels. We are working on, I believe I said 72 and 73. So, these insects here, I actually collected 2 years ago, but I did finally get them pinned up enough that I can get some labels on them, which is quite exciting for me. Because, for instance, this beetle down here, this is like an orange and black dung beetle that I do believe we've drawn during the live stream, but it still hasn't gotten its number yet because I was so excited when I pinned it to show it to you all that right after it dried, we drew it that week. So I'm gonna have to come up with a fix for the fact that my computer seems to be really laggy. And this is without using my microscope camera, which I'm normally using. Um, so I think that we have finally outlived the life of this desktop. All right. 2, 4, 6, 8, 10. Perfect. So now we get to give all these friends labels. All right. That's a beetle. It's going to be going in our beetle drawer. It's a species of scarab. It's a dung beetle. This is Menicles incertus. It is a true bug, so it gets to go and hang out with our stink bugs for a minute. This one is also a stink bug. This one is from Michigan, so it's not the southern green stink bug, Nazara viridula. It's Canavia hilaris. It's a different species of green stink bug. We have in Michigan we have two species of green stink bugs. We have Canavia hilaris, which is this one, and then we have Canavia pennsylvanicus. And the only place I've ever collected pennsylvanicus was in conjunction with I was in the forest and I was collecting them in conjunction with this really cool fern that instead of it kind of curling this way, it was bilateral and it was like wide and flat. Um, yeah, I don't know my ferns very well, but that was a really cool fern to be collecting in, and it was the only place I collected Canavia pennsylvanicus. So these are pointed specimens. So what you do with this is I've got this little point punch that punches out this triangle of cardstock, and you put the pin through the wide end of the triangle, and then you glue the paper to one side of the insect, so that because the insects are so small that trying to put a pin through their body would actually hurt more characteristics than it would help. This is a cute little click beetle. I love collecting click beetles. There's something about them that just make me smile. And also, there was a long time that I thought most of these little brown click beetles were all like the same species, so they were kind of boring to me. I was like, I don't see the variety there. And so it's a little sad. But then when you start collecting them and looking at them in a very, very like fine and distinct way, you will end up seeing that the click beetles, where they might all look very similar, they're going to have like different shapes of their elytra. Their hairs are different. Some of them are narrow and fine, and some of them are big and flat and wide, kind of more like scales. And some of them have little punctations, and some of them have grooves, and some of them are really glabrous or really shiny, and some of them are have a little bit more hair. And so when you look at them really, really close, they do actually have a whole lot of characteristics that define them. And oh my goodness, I have a specimen and I have yet to pin it. I have yet to pin that specimen. Um, but I have a specimen that I collected this year, and and it's a click beetle. And it's a click beetle, but it is not the eastern-eyed click beetle. It's the other species in the same genus. It's like a small-eyed click beetle, so it's just as big as a big kind of black and white speckled click beetle, but it's got smaller eye spots on the pronotum. And it's super cool, and I've been looking for it for years, and I picked it up this year on my drive down to New Orleans, and I was really excited. Moral of the story, I was really excited. All right, this is our scarab. That's our dung beetle, so it's gonna go with the dung beetles over here. All right, we've got this click beetle, and then this is a hopper of some kind, so that's gonna be a true bug. This is an aquatic beetle of some kind. I can't tell right off the bat if it's a diticid or a hydrophilid. There's a couple of differences in the bottom of the body and the length of the antenna in comparison to the mouth parts and things. But I'm not looking that close at this very moment. And then I'm going to snag these pointed beetles here and transfer those over. Okay. And then we've got these two bees. Two bee or not two bee? Two bees. Alright, I am going to leave dragonflies, damselflies, and butterflies and moths on this big tray with the Luna moth. And then when we get to that order's box, they'll all be in one spot. Sometimes these extra pins around are great, but sometimes when you have them already on, they can also become a problem. There we go. White line sphinx moth, admiral. And put all aside. What's our best bid? What are these? Cool. All right, I have another fun tray. So this must have been, these are specimens that I traveled with this year. So what we're looking at here, this is a Parnassian butterfly. It is a high altitude, it's a high altitude swallowtail butterfly with no swallowtail, which is great. I'm gonna move the dragonfly over here to the others. All right. And then I have all of these friends over here. So we've got lots of beetles happening, but also all kinds of other things. So this right here is a mantis fly. It's got those big front legs that it's going to hold like a praying mantis. They are, I believe they're a neuropteran, and they're a lacewing. And this is a cute little pink, this is a pink ladybug. That's a native species. We've got another Eliodes, or a stink beetle from the American Southwest. This is another deerfly. Maybe we do need to draw a deerfly or two, because I don't know if we've drawn very many of them, and I keep collecting them because they keep biting me. Alright, tiger beetle. This is a carrion beetle and an ironclad beetle. These guys are really cool. Ironclad beetles, their exoskeleton is so hard that it's really, really difficult to put a pin through them. I was able to successfully pin this one without a little hand drill, but some people swear by using these like little hand drills to pin really hard beetles like them. I've got two more of these cute little hoppers here. It looks like a frog hopper and a tree hopper. But we're going to move both of those over into the true bugs. That's a beetle. That's going to be our best beetle, or a patent leather beetle. And a 10-line June beetle. but there's a number of different species in this genus. It's Polyphylla. Is it Polyphylla? I feel like it's Polyphylla, but that doesn't sound right to me. It is. It's Polyphylla. It means lots of green or lots of plants because they eat lots of different kinds of plants. They're a generalist. This is a cute little tortoise beetle that we love so much. And then ground beetles. And we're going to move this fly out of the way. True bug. Get him out of the way. Hister beetle, one of those really, really incredibly flat beetles. Now, when I say really, really flat, when you look at him this way, he looks like your average normal beetle, right? Big jaws up there in front, kind of shiny. But if I turn him sideways, he just disappears into nothingness. Like that is, and it's not like I flattened this beetle, alright? I didn't step on it, nothing like that happened. This is its natural size because what it's doing is it's a predator, but it's going to be crawling underneath bark and it's going to be feeding on wood boring insects. So it has to be able to fit through everybody else's tunnels. So it's flat. The true bug. And then this is our pleasing fungus beetle. They used to be bright blue, but when they die, they fade off. That blue color fades off to this like yellow green color. All right, and this is what our true bugs, flies, and bees and wasps are looking like. I am gonna really quickly take these beetles here and slide them off into the beetle box. Let me know if you have any questions, comments. I know that because the live stream is lagging a little bit, I might actually just go ahead and leave a little early because I'm enjoying myself and having fun kind of organizing the collection and things and talking to you about it. But I really, really wish that I could know that everybody was getting to experience the whole thing, right? So what I might just do is try again next week, but make sure that I have my computer upgraded. Because I can switch over to my laptop, which is better than my desktop, I believe, at this point. So we'll be doing that next week. Ugh. Alright, what about this tray? What's happening in here? We can play the game. What is happening in here? This is the unit tray that was specifically made for this crane fly because I'm so afraid of it breaking its legs. And then all of the other friends just started to join it. So we've got this cute little hopper here that looks like a little thorn. It's a true bug in the order Hemiptera. Also our giant water bug here, piercing and sucking, venomous. We're going to get it out of the way. We've got another pleasing fungus beetle. This is a bark gnawing beetle. Oh, this is a cute one. We love this one. This is Malaphora or Malaphaga. But it's the bee killer fly. And it's a robber fly that's a bee mimic. And they're super fluffy and super adorable. And we love them even though they eat bees. This one is in a family called Dictyopheridae, and it's got a nice long nose. It's funny. Okay. A cannellini, something like that. This is a cute little, this is an agave weevil that I collected in Arizona. I'm just gonna get the tragopsid out of here. And, oh, these are really cool because they look like rocks. And They're called they're trogids. What's the common name for them? All right, so let's see. I've got my crane fly is all loading anything in this tray with this crane fly because I have already glued that leg back together and that leg back together and that leg back together. So we actively try not to hurt crane flies. They used to give us extra credit in class if you could turn in a crane fly with all of its legs. So I believe um thank you. I believe this is gonna be my last tray of specimens that I want to kind of organize a little bit and get them at least into their orders. Welcome, Sewing Nancy. I'm sorry if my audio is a little wonky today, but we are going to make sure it's fixed by next week. I think I know what is happening. That is a really cool longhorn beetle. I love this beetle right here. Um, it's a hard one for me to describe, but I think that it has some type of like yellow fluffy hair on it. I'm gonna have to look at it underneath the microscope sooner rather than later. This is a female eastern Hercules beetle. She's not in the best of conditions. She's missing a whole bunch of tarsal segments. But she's the only Hercules beetle that I have. I really wish I had collected a male. I've also never collected a male ox beetle either. Only ladies, which means I don't have any of the really fun big horned beetles. I've got nice stag beetles, just not like scarabs. I also have I've got some really adorable dung beetles. Like, oh my goodness, that's a dung beetle. Isn't it cute? Okay. This is another stink beetle from the American Southwest. That's a leucanid or a stag beetle. This little beetle here is one of those beetles that I was looking forward to identifying because I wasn't sure what it was. Whoop! Dropped a fly. Fly down. All right. This looks like an ant. That's a true bug. This is an ant. This is a true bug. Boop. True bug. This is an acorn weevil. It's got a really, really long, extended face. Oh, and a cool snake fly. Or a scorpion fly. Sorry. That's a scorpion fly. Cool. Alright. And then this bee. And then this absolutely beautiful metallic leaf beetle that I collected in Arizona many years back. That was the first illustration that we did in this live stream that I brought a really truly iridescent beetle to class. And I got to see all kinds of really beautiful illustrations of it because some of you out there while we are drawing are also coloring the specimens, and that always impresses me because it takes you about the same amount of time, I imagine, to draw in color as it takes me to just draw it. Unless you're continuing to work on the illustration after class after. All right, so I've got a little praying mantis here. Praying mantis is also not in 100% the best quality, but we've got all of the legs happening. It's just missing the antenna here. I don't collect a lot of praying mantis that I see. I see a praying mantis, I get all excited, and then I can't collect it because I want it to go out and live its life. So the last handful of praying mantis that I found out in the wild, I have not collected. Well, this tray has gotten very fun very quickly. Let me show you it. So we've got down here, all of this space are all of the bees, wasps, and ants. We've got flies happening over here. This from here all the way, just not including this grasshopper. All of these here are all true bugs. Whether you're looking at an assassin bug or a water scorpion or a giant water bug or a leaf hopper or a frog hopper or a tree hopper, they're all in there somewhere. And then this is some minor orders. We've got the scorpion fly, the caddis fly, and the stone fly. Let me go ahead and we've gotten, I think, all the beetles all situated. So what I think I'm going to do is we're just going to go through and get, maybe we'll just do one more drawer. We'll go through and get the flies in. All right. Flies, huh? So, syrphid. We've got all of these calypterate flies, and I believe a number of these are tachinids. This one is definitely a tachinid. It's so big and fat and fluffy and bristly, and I bet you if I looked even with my naked eye, I probably could see the post-scutellum, or that it's like a little bulge underneath the scutellum that tells you it's a tachinid fly. Deerflies and horseflies are all in the family Tabanidae, so they're all in the same family. They're easy to find in the collection. And then this guy right here, that's a robber fly in the family Acylidae. And he doesn't look like any of his robber fly friends. I'll show you. So this is the robber fly tray. And you can see a lot of these other robber flies, they've got these nice long abdomens, they've got nice long legs. And then you get to this one right here, Malaphaga, the bee killer fly, and it looks nothing like all of his friends, but they're all robber flies. All right. I have some minor orders happening in this drawer too, along with the flies, because flies are my least collected order. So I also put the minor orders in there with the flies. All right, ladies and gentlemen. I do personally have more stuff and to organize and more collection management stuff to work on. But I think because of the issues with the audio and the video lagging, we're just gonna stop a little bit early. And we have live streamed for about an hour, so I'm pretty happy with where we are at. I do want to say thank you to those of you out there who are still hanging out and watching, even though we had a couple of you know uh, glitches, electronic issues. That's fine. I do want to say thank you out there. Oh, my camera's all wonky. Okay. You want to fix it? There. I do want to say thank you out there for spending time with me today. I teach on a platform called Outschool. If you were curious about it, there's a description in the doobly-doo below. Remember to subscribe to my YouTube channel. Thank you so much to all of you in the chat box that chatted with me today. Want to make a call out to Susan and Matthew and Mike and Bag joining from the Pokemon in real life video. That's great.